conditions should remain dry. We will keep you informed of any changes to the weather. We didn't really get the data we needed on that run. You might want to give it another go.
What have we got here? Don't have Nastro away at least. Took his place. Must have been drunk when I decided to start in Sauber. Yeah, man. I think you've certainly chose a tough path for yourself, taking on Sauber. All right. So I think we can. Well, I'm warmed up now, so maybe we could give this another go. Although I think I'm on worn tyres. I think that's how it works. Like I don't get fresh tyres for the stint. Oh no, I do get fresh tyres. Look at that. Probably wearing out my race tyres at the moment. Leaving myself short in a race. We'll go to Richfield, so we get a bit of added speed on the straights. Helps us achieve our lap time target. Give this one more go, and if we don't do it this time, I think we'll just abandon it and call those points lost for this weekend. This is helping me warm up those, so. That was not that great driving, but we're still up on the lap time and stuff, so we'll take it. Always going too deep into that corner. It's play every race for halfway at Tom and just show. Wow. I mean, I don't know. I would have thought you'd have that at like Toro Rosso with the older engine, but yeah, that Sauber's trash. Plus, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I don't like that. I think the shape of the car's nice. Like the nose of the car is certainly not the worst out there, but the colour. The livery is just I just can't get on board with it. It's like the 70s called and want their livery back, but it's not like, you know, good retro livery like maybe Ferrari are going for. Alright, that first lap was good. I've got a car ahead of me, that's fantastic. I'm stoked. Can't wait to get to it. Archer Rosberg, you should pull away from me, surely. Took a bit too much AstroTurf there, a bit wide. So I think we need to do something a bit different down here. Maybe we'll hold 6th and brake a bit earlier. Look at that, we hit the apex. We went a gear lower. It's feeling better. Lap time's not magnificent, but it's enough at the moment. Prefer when they had the grey and white. Yeah, I agree. When they had the grey and white. And they used to have, I don't know if you remember, and I'm sorry to pause to say this because I have to pause to read the comments. Just hoping McLaren or Williams offer something. The two teams, even though the McLaren have a garbage engine, I'll use garbage instead of you think. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that but the Sauber used to have the end fences, the end plates on the front wing were at an angle. It looked more like a like you looked at it from the front. They're sort of angled, so it kind of looked like the edges of, say, the letter A. And that thing actually looked really cool. It looked really menacing and aggressive. I quite liked that Sauber a lot back when I had Kobayashi was driving it with Perez, and yeah, it was a good looking car. It's such a shame the way it looks now, the yellow and the blue. Yeah, like I said, the 70s called and want their retro livery back. It's garish. The blue, I mean, it makes it stand out, but it doesn't show up sponsors well, I don't think. And the stupid big white numbers on the side of it look hideous, just really, really hideous, like Times New Roman hideous on the side of the thing. And McLaren and Williams, I really hope McLaren can do something, you know, with that the removal of the token system next year lets Honda catch up, because, you know, I mean, being mid-30s, you know, I was introduced to Formula One in the late 80s, early 90s, back when it was Prost and Senna, you know, dominating in those McLarens, and you know, that's my first memories of Formula One. And I'd love to see that back. And, you know, on top of that, I think Fernando Alonso still is undoubtedly one of the best drivers on the grid. I think given a competitive car, he would certainly be any match for, you know, for Hamilton or Vettel, if only McLaren can give him the car. So, as for Williams, it's tough to say. I mean, Williams at the moment, they're bogged down as a customer team. You know, they're not going to be able to do very much until, you know, McLaren saw the writing on the wall with that. That's why they went to Honda. You know, staying as a Mercedes customer team was not going to win them championships, and, you know, Williams are in the same boat right now. I've let this lap time slide by talking. Might be able to get it back down here with DRS. What do we got? Didn't see McLaren Old Dominance came aboard 97 through because of Villeneuve. Instantly took a liking to Hakkinen and McLarens. Man, those McLarens of 97, 98, 99, some of the sweetest looking F1. You know, when they first came out, you know, they're the sweetest looking F1 cars I'd ever seen. You know, they were so smooth, and excuse me while I break down from 350 kilometers an hour. The liveries on them were fantastic, and they just looked so damn good. I've got a track limit warning there. This is going to be very close. And plus, Hakkinen was an absolute champion. Like, he was severely underrated. I mean, a lot of people forget that he had almost a life-ending crash at the very start of his career at Adelaide, and he came back to become a two-time world champion. It's not an easy thing to do. Yeah, I really want to see a McLaren resurgence. I think that would be good for the sport. You know, McLaren's one of the old school teams. Williams as well, but Williams has sort of lost its soul a little bit, you know, through the mid-2000s, taking on pay drivers as Kazuki Nakajima. Although obviously he, you know, has proved his worth in endurance racing, so it's not like he was a bad driver, but, you know, Frank was always very adamant that Williams wouldn't go down that path, and then they did. You know, so that was unfortunate. But McLaren's the one for me. If Honda can use the removal of the token system as an opportunity to, you know, start from scratch, or at least make significant gains, then, you know, McLaren are definitely well capable of building a good enough chassis. And they're certainly going to have a good driver lineup. What's that? At this point, I'm just saying, yeah, me totally too. Challenge Mercedes. That's the big thing for me as well. You know, I've like I said, I've been watching Formula One a long time. I mean, I've seen periods of dominance come and go, but never quite like what we're seeing from Mercedes. You know, I mean, hats off to them for being, you know, for building a great car and being on top of the, you know, the hybrid engine switchover. But for the good of the sport, we need competition. And I mean, that's why they removed the token system. is to allow Renault, Ferrari, and Honda to catch up. I'll always say that they made a huge mistake with the regulations when they went with the hybrids. Not so much going with the hybrids. I mean, you can argue about the sound and everything like that, but more that they introduced a very, very complicated engine or power unit setup for the cars, and then immediately slapped on the most restrictive engine. The most restrictive. Another phone call that's going to wreck my laptop. The most restrictive regulations that we've ever seen in the sport in terms of the power unit or the engine. And all it's done is stifle development and scare manufacturers off. I mean, I'm amazed that Honda came in when they did, and you know, they've paid the price for that in terms of what everybody thinks of their Formula One engine program at the moment. So, you know, it would have been better if they'd done it the opposite way around, which was to have, you know, 3-4 seasons of open development on the power units and then homologate them and lock them down. You know, all they'd done with the current regulations was, I mean, everybody should have been smart enough to see that one engine manufacturer is going to get it better than the rest. And by locking in their rules about the, you know, the homologation and token system, was they protected any advantage that whatever manufacturer done it the best did, and that was Mercedes. And you know, they're now going to win 3 consecutive championships on the back of, you know, getting one set of regulations right, and that's really unfortunate, because you know, when the sport's an aero battle, teams can catch up purely through investment and good car design. When the sport becomes a power unit battle, it's all about what donkey you've got in the back. And in the current era, it's been if you don't have a Mercedes, then you know, you're out of business, kind of thing. And it's been really tough for the midfield teams that don't have Mercedes power units, and that's sucked as well. You know, it's been, you know, golden age for Williams, you know, in the modern era as a midfield team, and Force India, say, but it's been really tough for the likes of Sauber. You know, and Lotus, Renault. Mind you, even when we had a Mercedes, they had a garbage cars because they had no money. But I've felt for, you know, Sauber have not flourished in the regulations because they're a Ferrari customer, and you know, it sucked. And Toro Rosso as well, I might add. And everybody's seen the quality of Toro Rosso chassis over the last few years, but hampered down by the fact that they've always had the wrong power unit in the back of the car. And this year, when it looks like Renault have done a good job, you know, they've got the Ferrari in the back from last year, and it's really hurting them at the power circuits. So, yeah, took a break, couple of years, was supposed to be only 4 engine manufacturers, and came back. Wonder what happened to it. And I think that's of the last 10 years, that's the biggest shame that's happened to the sport, that we had, you know, even if you want to go back as far as say 2005, 2006, when Red Bull bought the Jaguar team. Jaguar left, you know, Toyota's left, BMW's left the sport, and it's one of the biggest things I've had a problem with, say with the change to the hybrid era, as we're in now, is that they done it to pander to, you know, the demands from Mercedes and Renault to go to hybrid engines to make them more road relevant. And you know, they were saying that if you don't bring in these engines, we'll leave. So they changed the rules to suit the engine manufacturers. But I don't like that, because as BMW and Honda previously, and you know, even if you want to go back to Ford, proved, the engine manufacturers will up and leave the sport as soon as the shareholders deem it's no longer a sound investment. So you could make all these changes to the sport and damage it, which they undoubtedly have in the last sort of 3 to 4 years, damaged the sport. They've lost a lot of fans. You know, viewer numbers are declining. You've had the most dominant team in history over a period of 3 years, where they've topped 91% of all race and qualifying sessions, which is just insane. And to what end? I mean, Mercedes could still decide tomorrow that, okay, we've won 3 championships, so we've had enough, so we're going to leave. You should never do stuff to satisfy big corporates, because the big corporates will roll a sport under a bus as soon as they, you know, as soon as it's their will to do so. You should be looking after the racing teams. You should be looking after Ferrari. Ferrari will always be in Formula One. It would take an incredible change of things to change that. Your Saubers, been in the sport for 30 years and near on 30 years. Williams, even longer, McLaren, but instead they pander to Mercedes and Renault. And what happens? They've changed the sport. And there was even talk last year that obviously Renault was going to pull out altogether and not even be here. That would have left Mercedes, Honda, and Ferrari on the grid as the engine suppliers, and that would have been a disaster for the sport. So you can't. Yeah, it's such a shame that they changed the sport so fundamentally to suit these big corporates. And it's not new for Formula One to make decisions like that fans are going to struggle to understand. That is Formula One's want. It's part of the drama of it. It's part of the reason we watch it, I guess. But yeah, the sport needs resuscitating to a point, and that's the token system is the best decision. The removal of the token system is the best decision they've made in a long time. But I wish they had done it as soon as they saw the writing on the wall at 2013 that Mercedes was going to walk away with the championship with the power unit advantage. And that's not to say Mercedes have a bad car. They've probably got the best car on the grid, but it's also been, heavily integrated with the best power unit on the grid. So they're always going to have that advantage over their customer teams. And I know there's an ongoing argument about do Williams and Force India and the like get the same engine that Mercedes do. I don't doubt for a second that hardware-wise they definitely do. I don't think they'll always get the same benefits or same engine modes that Mercedes would get, but obviously Mercedes say they do, so I don't want to call them liars. So, yeah. This engine test has gone from being one I didn't think I was going to pass to being the best one I've had in my career. Actually, no, I think I had a pretty good one in Melbourne. So I'll turn the fuel down. I think we can just go back to the pits. I think that was actually really, really good, even though I was interrupting it constantly. So sorry for everybody for listening to for me just sitting there paused whilst I carried on about Formula One.